Well, then I'll go along the same line of thinking. The Board of Adjustment, they don't get paid, do they?
No.
And we charge $250. So I guess I'm losing my case all of a sudden, you know, for a reason not to have it.
Well,
If you're telling me I'm going to the Board of Adjustment, it costs $250, and nobody's doing anything except taking it to those people, now, you
Well,
know.
I personally don't have a problem not charging it. You know, I mean, I know we have an application process that they would need to fill out to change it, you know. So do you just throw a $10 fee in there to cover paper, I guess, or time, you know, I mean, whatever, I mean.
I don't know, in here it
Or you
says,
put nothing, I mean, I don't, we can put, you know, there won't be a fee.
You don't wanna charge a fee, that's fine.
Sure.
I would say that you may get, I mean, there's a little bit of skin in the game if you are, charging a fee. I mean, if there's no application fee, then you may have a
Everybody
lot.
and their brothers want to
Yeah,
do it,
yeah,
just to test the waters,
yeah.
to see what they can.
that is,
Plus, there are gonna be occasions where they have to have an engineer review it, or they have to have something interpreted, and it does take your staff time to prepare it for those committees.
well, that's what I was wondering, when it says staff here, staff would suggest a fee. Was that reviewed by the staff, the people that would be involved in that?
It's really, Councilman, it was just, we would be, the building inspector and I would be looking at the plans and determining whether the plans met the requirement. And then if they didn't, then we would ask for, some drawings that would show all four sides of the building, if they submitted an application.
Right,
it
so
would
you're
be-
saying it's much more than my little example of just having brick or
Yeah.
tin on the front. It's a
Yeah.
little bit more than that.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. And so there may be, when you review those plans, much more.
I wouldn't say it's much
Not
more,
much,
but,
but I mean,
you
it's
know,
gonna take some
it's
time.
probably a couple hours to put together to review it and then put together the detailed, the staff report that goes to you guys and to the.
Would we ever have any engineering cost involved with the elevation?
No, I mean, the commercial plan review that we do is really pertains to building code requirements.
What do you think, Chris?
I don't like the idea of fees after fees after fees being added. But
The one thing that does get me is when you say, if there's nothing attached to it, everybody and their brother could walk up here and not wanna abide by what our standard is.
Or
What
do-
our code.
And part of it is, on
Because
that
we don't
map
have to
is,
prove what they say, but.
right, but part of it is, that it's like you said, is you come in and say, hey, I just want to put metal up, put secure. You know, now, are they gonna wanna go through the process of doing that and taking a chance that the council or planners, or either one, or both, may not approve it, you know, then they gotta go back to the drawing board again. Now, if they go back, just say it's turned down and disapproved, does that mean they gotta pay another $200 application fee if they wanna submit another, or does this
That-
continue
it's-
on?
The way it's written is that the council's decision is final.
Okay.
And then.
So they could
would have-
resubmit another drawing or another
They would have to submit another drawing.
elevation and do it all over
That
again.
would comply with, and I mean, at that point in time, you know, if somebody's been into the process for 30 or 45 days, they're probably not gonna wanna
Right.
resubmit and go through the process all over again when the council's already made a decision, so. And, you know, there's always, I would expect that there probably will be a certain amount of give and take on some of this stuff when it comes before you and the planning commission. You know, I could see you as a builder saying, well, you know, could you do this and dress it up a little bit or do that? So, I mean, I think it's not gonna be always just a clear cut, you know, either, you know, do it according to the ordinance or hit the highway.
Bernadette, you have anything you'd like to add? You're lost. You was probably not here whenever we.
No, I wasn't, so
voted
this
on
is
some of
all
this,
new
and
to
so
me,
this
and I'm
is
just
kind of
sitting
new.
here trying to
This is strictly
process.
about the elevations on buildings that we're talking about, and,
Is that to keep from buildings and holes?
well, no, that didn't change that part, not at all, so.
But it does keep you from building lean-tos
Yeah, well,
on the main streets and stuff that doesn't look very good. My whole deal is I want stuff that looks good.
Yeah.
Around the city. If you're gonna build, and I've had a couple people approach me about storage facilities, if you're gonna build a storage facility, fine. But the front of it better have a facade that looks like a nice building.
Right.
And you can have all the storage behind it
Yeah,
you want.
that makes sense.
But what's on the frontage is going to look
But this
nice.
fee would allow them, if we did that with storage building, for example, they could come in and argue that with us.
Which is exactly.
That's what you said, yeah.
Which is, I don't know whether the front elevation that they're proposing will, I know it'll meet the code. I don't know whether it'll meet your expectation, Harold. But, $250.
You don't have things on the front of
But,
the
I
building.
mean, it's true, with the fee, we'd have probably less commercial
that's-
businesses coming in wanting to,
They would present what our codes
Yeah.
require and move forward.
yeah,
And most commercial businesses,
$200 is $200.
yeah.
They're looking at time is what they're looking at, that's what they're gonna be looking at when they can start. That's honest truth about commercial. Yeah, well, that's a good valid point, and if everybody that came in and wanted to change the elevation, there would be a cost to our staff, because they're sitting there just working on this as much as any, so,
Yeah.
you know, there would be a cost staff-wise, because they're losing other things they could be doing. You know, we're adding more work to them, and if we did enough of them, and I'm just saying that, if you threw it in there for nothing, then everybody and their brother could,
They have to hire somebody else.
might have to,
No, I'm serious. I might have
Yeah.
to hire them to do these things.
might have to.
As we grow.
As we grow, yes. So what would we like to do? Do we wanna put the $200 in, or do we wanna put nothing in? Do we wanna put 50, 75, 100, 250? Would auction this one off? Leave it as is and see what happens?
Well, if you leave as is, and Steve's gonna get a building out there by his place, in the front of it's gonna, they're gonna hire kids to go pick up tree limbs and glue it to the front of the building, and you're gonna have to look at it. It won't meet the ordinance or the code,
There you go.
then we
Keep
really have
in
to.
mind, the recommendation of your staff is from years of experience to deal with these kinds of issues, and knowing what's gonna be needed.
We have a motion of any type.
And you've convinced me somewhat that we need something in there. Just, you know, to make sure, but I'm just, 200 seems a little steep. If I say 150, you're gonna, you're just talking $50 here. What the heck, you know? Oh,
It's
Lord.
halfway point.
Well, we could do 100. I mean, it was really just a, I don't wanna say I picked the number out of the air, but I mean, I looked at what our other fees were and thought, well, we'll go a little bit less, but, if.
It's pretty
if that-
convincing if it's 250 just to go to the Board of Adjustment.
Well, but it doesn't, this is an item that
qualify
doesn't,
for it.
yeah,
Right.
this, you guys wanted control on this.
Yes.
And so that's why it's going the way it is. It could have gone to the Board of Adjustment, but you would have relinquished your control over it. But I mean, if we do a lower price and we end up with, everybody coming in and saying, well, for $100, I'll take a shot at it, then, maybe.
Maybe we could always change it. I mean, we could
Oh,
always go
yeah,
back
this
and
is,
change it.
this is a fee schedule thing,
Yeah.
this is something that can be changed.
And not everybody's
by
gonna
the
be,
council.
I mean, that's not everybody's gonna do this. I mean, there's no doubt.
you know, some of the national tenants that are coming in, you know, they've got their standard building type, and they're generally gonna meet our construction requirements. It's gonna be maybe the local guys that may wanna try to get some relief from it.
So what would y'all like to do tonight?
All right. Can't just, okay. I'll make a motion that we approve, the suggested fee for covering the processing of the kind of request you call it, for $150.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Scalzo,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Pankowski,
Yes.
Trent,
Yes.
motion.
Council?
Item B, discussion possible action on approving of allocating money for the ARPA funds. More likely, we'll probably just table this tonight. I just want to get this out there, is, by the, our next meeting's on the 16th. I would really like every department head to get with Jamie, and Jamie can direct them to do this, by the 10th, to have a list of everything that everybody's wanting, actually, and I want it priority. And what I'm saying is, whatever you feel like is your most priority, whatever you need the most, put it at the top of your list, and then work your list down from there. Because I doubt we get everybody's list that everybody wants, because the want list and the wish list are a lot of things. We need to start with our needs and then work down from there. We got, if I jump back, the funds was $1,140,465.50. We've already spent $174,000, which leaves us a balance of $966,301 to still spend. And we need to just make sure that this money that we're spending is how we're gonna spend it. And I mean, City Hall here's got some needs. We need to get some automatic doors up front. We probably need a generator system here. There's some things that City Hall probably needs. I'm sure Marty needs some, Jerry and Levi need some items as well. So if we get all that gathered up, okay, but we would really like to turn in by the, you said 10th, is that right?
It'll be well done.
Well, if we could get that, and then the council could start looking at all of those as well. Anything else y'all would like to add to any of that? That's good. But really, I mean, we're looking at our public safety first, is what we're looking at. So that's our main concern, is the public safety, the sidewalks, whatever it may be, you know, so just look at that.
Just want to let you know, the New Jersey governor's on the hot seat for misspending that money when he bought himself an SUV. So I'll let you know that. And the Lieutenant Governor too.
Danny,
I don't got an SUV.
can I ask a question, just take a second about that? Can you use this funds with other grant money matching funds?
I cannot
ARPA
answer
money?
that. I can't answer what, the ARPA money, we're pretty open on what we can do with our money, okay? So, we can, okay, so.
Okay, we'll have to talk, because we've got two nice ones coming up for here.
Okay.
Well, we was discussing it the other day, so
Okay.
that's why I said it would be
So-
really in our best interest to maybe look at these two grants that's come out in Oklahoma for eastern Oklahoma County.
Yeah, because the thing about this money is the reason I'm pushing on this, to get it kind of, what are we gonna do with it and why, is I believe we have until the end of 26 to spend that money. That money has to be spent. I mean, whatever's not spent at the end of 26 goes back to the state. So if we have any building things that we need done, or any engineering, I mean, let's just say we're gonna do something at the park, you know, I mean, and it takes the engineer 6-7 months to get it, and then you wait 2 or 3 months to get it let for bid on what you do, and then they start construction. I mean, you're 2 years down the road. So I mean, that's why it's so important that we kind of keep prodding this along because of our time frame, you know, because
Yeah.
whatever's not spent goes back, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Anybody else? Okay, so I'm gonna just table this tonight, and we'll look at that next meeting. Now, the item C is discussion possible action to spend $8,500 of the ARPA funds for overhead doors, electricity at the Harrah Senior Center. That is down at the bus barn is what that is, where we just bought those 2 new buses. I mentioned last time that they tried to steal the catalytic converters off of them, and which they didn't get them, and those are $5,000 on each one of those if they'd have got them. This is actually gonna lock the buses up inside. They're gonna have automatic door openers, they're gonna put lights in them, they're putting a side door, and the $8,500 is a bid that they already have. They've already got an actual written bid on that. So, do I have a motion to approve the $8,500 for ARPA funds for the senior center?
And that
Barn.
barn, you say, is down there by the,
It's already built, the barn's
Down the
built.
center.
Yeah, you can,
Okay.
it just don't have doors on it. What the intention was, they parked them buses in there and they're out of the weather, if it hailed or whatever, snow, build up or whatever. We never dreamed somebody's gonna come down there and try to steal, and this is kind of, if anybody wants in it, they're getting, we know that. But this is gonna slow the vandalism down if there's any. I mean, knowing the safe city that we live in, I can't believe we have them problems, but anyway.
I'll make the motion that we spend the $8,500 of the ARPA funds for overhead doors and electricity at the senior center.
Pankowski,
Yes.
Scalzo,
Yes.
Lawley,
Yes.
Trent,
Yes.
motion carried.
Item D is discussion possible action on striking all the roads in Harrah. I have not got a price on that, so I'm just gonna table that tonight. Discussion possible action to re-advertise for a new concessionaire at the Heritage Park. Reach out to those who previously applied. The Fiesta Taco has moved out of the pavilion down there that they was serving. And so, do we want to re-advertise that we want a new customer down there? Or would we like to go ahead and reach out to, there were 2 companies that we looked at. One was the Tony's Snow Cones, and the other one was the barbecue place.
I think it was a Mexican,
I thought it was barbecue.
one girl was a Mexican, because
We can look, I can look back, but
I
whatever. Do we-
haven't seen her.
So what would y'all like to do? Would y'all like to reach back out to, have Sydney reach back to them and see if they'd be interested? I mean, I think, we had one that was September to now. I think it was short-lived. It don't help us any. Hopefully we can get a longer-term customer in there. Do we
Yeah,
want
they might look at it and go,
they may.
however, I'd hope they'd at least try to get through the Coleman's Park.
That's what I was hoping. So what would,
It didn't happen.
so do we want to reach out to the 2, I think there was 2 remaining, is that right? Do we want to reach out back to both of them and see if they're still interested? Or do we want to try to re-advertise it somehow altogether?
Well, if you reach out to those 2 and they're not interested, then
You still gotta have, but I mean, I think reaching out to them is fine.
And I mean, even if just one of them was interested, that'd give us something to go with. I mean, so.
If they haven't moved on and still interested,
Okay.
that'd be great.
So do we have a motion to perhaps Cindy to reach out to the 2 companies remaining to see if they're interested?
I make a motion that Cindy reaches out to the remaining companies to see if they're still interested.
I'll second that.
I'm not sure it's 2 or if it's 3. Is there only 3?
I think there's 2 altogether.
There may, yeah, okay. You may be exactly.
There's 3 more remaining, because I thought there was 4 total.
I thought one pulled out or something.
There was 5 to start with and 1 pulled out. See, I was absent the night I voted.
I've slept since then. Just how many there are, just reach
Yeah.
out there.
That's what I said, how many, I did not put the number on.
So,
Reach out to the past ones.
Yes.
Pankowski,
Yes.
Lawley.
Yes.
Trent,
yes,
motion carried.
we're gonna jump over here here on the Public Works, we've got discussion possible action to approve change order number 2 for Downey Construction. This is a deal here that, where did I begin? This is down on 29th Street, the water and sewer line that was down there. what happened is Bill Myers calls me one day and asked me if we can do a change order. And I said, you drew the plans, you did this, I won't approve any change orders, and I made that clear that I wouldn't approve any change orders, but also made it clear to him that I would take it to the council. And this was back in probably October that he called and told me this, and next thing you knew, an hour later, he calls me back and says, hey, he's got it worked out, we don't need to go to council over this. This change order is the Downey construction, for a gas line was running across the street and they had to bore it, and, because they wouldn't let them open cut it. Now we got a $4,200 charge. My opinion is, on this whole deal is, and Bob's gonna have to help us out on this, I mean, on this change order, one is, it was not turned into the council before it was done, it should have been done prior to and approved by the council before they done the change order, that didn't happen. I don't know if it's necessarily the contractor's fault, and I don't know if I wanna penalize the contractor on it. But on the second behalf is, just to go over some quick numbers, we paid Bill Myers Engineering $274,500 to engineer the water line down Harrah Road in 29. We paid Bill Myers $154,990 to do the sewer line down here in 29. We paid Bill Myers $201,000 to inspect the sewer and water line during the construction. So you add up all those numbers, I mean, we're $600 and something thousand on paying Bill Myers to do a job that was, he needs to be held responsible for drawing the plans, doing the plans. Somebody else out there, I know $4,200 on an $8 million job is not much money, but somebody else needs to be held responsible for this other than the city of Harrah, and be held liable for something that we paid $600,000 to get. So,
Well, I'm in agreement, if you have a engineering firm that is laying this out, or looking at it, and laying it out for these folks, I'm sorry if you missed it, that's your issue. This unforeseen field conditions, you're an engineering firm that should be looking at those conditions and understanding them before this construction starts. So when I look at it, I'm like, no, that comes out of your pocket, and it's not yours.
Right.
My finger just went
Right.
there.
Comes out of the
It comes out of the engineering.
Yeah.
Myers should be held responsible.
They should be held responsible. I'm sorry you missed it. But, and most of them would come back ahead of time. If I'm having something built, they come in and say, look, we didn't see this, and here's the change, before they did it. And here we've got somebody, I cannot believe we have due to unforeseen field conditions. You had to go out and look at those field conditions in order to lay the thing out,
the design.
to design it. So
So let me ask Bob this. Bob, so what's our recourse on this? I mean, if we vote not to pay it, it's really, I'm not trying to penalize the Downey Construction, they did the work. It's not necessarily their fault to do that.
First, you should have had the opportunity to have this discussion before any charges were incurred.
Well,
So that nobody's in a position of being, having done work they don't get paid for, because you should be able to argue this decision with your engineer before that. Say, why did you change order? You should have, unless he can justify it as an unforeseen condition, and that can happen. You know, you can hit rock or something that nobody could anticipate being there, and incur extra costs, but that doesn't appear to be that kind of a
that was not
situation.
this kind of situation.
And I think you're well within your rights if you choose not to pay this change order.
well, and to reiterate, I told Bill Myers that I would not approve the change order, that I would take it to the council and let them make that decision, because it was not, and he called me back and said, he's got it worked out, we don't need to worry about it. Now, here we are 90 days later, and we're worried about this, and he made a decision and moved forward with it, you know, so I don't know if we need to, you know, and I recommended tonight, that when I talked to Bill Myers, I recommended he show up tonight and defend himself. So, I mean, if he's not here again, as he don't show a lot of interest for paying a guy $600,000, I'm very disappointed. You know, because I did recommend
Maybe
it
you
come
just say,
tonight.
we're glad you got it worked out. Thank you.
That's maybe what it is. So, maybe it is. Maybe that's what we need to
Well,
do.
you've got good engineers, and they've done a good job, but this is something that shouldn't have been overlooked.
So,
I love that. That statement.
So according to Bob, I mean,
You're within your rights to
within our
not
right,
approve.
we're with, that's what I would do at this time.
Well, I'm more than happy to make a motion to not approve this payment.
Second.
Scalzo,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Pankowski,
Yes.
Trent,
Yes.
motion carried.
Item B, discussion possible action regarding landlord deposit. What that is, down at the, Pavilion, we got a $500 deposit is what that is, for them, you know, just a renter's deposit, you know, for them to move in. Fiesta Taco is who it was. Think that what that is? That-
Wait a minute,
I
I
thought
was
that
gonna
was
say,
it.
if that's what it is,
Oh, I thought
it's
this
not
was what this
worded
was.
correctly.
Okay, I
Because
was gonna say landlord.
this landlord was,
Landlord utility, okay, that's what it is,
Water.
okay. Then I'll let you take over. Okay, I'm wrong, I'm sorry, I took that out of content.
That's all right. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so we had this discussion some time ago regarding, back and forth about whether landlords would be required to treat the homes that they own as singular individual homes, or whether there was some sort of workaround. Does that sound right, Sandy?
I didn't understand what you said. Say it
Okay.
again.
All right, that's why I asked you, you look really confused. All right, so we had a discussion earlier, an offline discussion about whether landlords would be paying utility deposits, just as if you owned each one of those individual homes, like I would if I owned a home here. Does that make better sense?
Yeah,
Individual. right.
that was somebody's intention, wasn't mine.
Right, but we had that discussion.
We had that
And so
discussion, yes.
To support looking into that, we reached out to OML and got some feedback from other cities to see what they're doing. The feedback was all over the board. Some cities charge individual deposits to their landlords, just as if you were a person here in town who owned that house. And some people don't, and they have workarounds. So one of the challenges we had in our city is our system makes it very difficult to identify who's a landlord and what all the properties are for them. We had a discussion with staff because we want to make sure that we're not overburdening our staff as we work through this process. And we've come up with a workaround that's going to require some landlord involvement, which will need our landlords to give us current lists of their properties so that we can make you separate. You won't give me a list of your landlord properties? Oh, come on.
I don't understand why you need to know that they're the landlord of that property. Why the city cares who exactly owns that piece of property.
Well, they care because they don't want to pay an individual deposit on that. They don't want to pay singular
And
deposits.
I've discussed this before, they should not have to unless they go to turn the water on that property. They
That's-
should not have to.
So that's another issue that we're gonna talk about, is whether or not we need to be able to talk to the landlords and know, do you want upfront water turned off when your tenants move out, or do you want it left on? And that's gonna be individual, every landlord's gonna be a little different on that. So,
My understanding, the city ordinance requires you to turn the water on and off every time a deposit is put down. My contention is I want you to follow that ordinance. If me as a landlord wants water in that property, I will come down here, put down a deposit, and
right,
say I want water at this address. And then when I'm done, I'll come back and say, okay, turn it off. I wanna be treated just like anybody else.
except for when the deposit happens, right?
No, I'll put up a deposit.
That
Okay.
was exactly what he said.
Well,
Yeah.
hold on for a second. So, I'm trying to get to, I think there's two things we're talking about, putting a deposit down on utilities and a reconnection fee. Are we talking about two different things? Are you talking about you're willing to put that deposit down? Because that's not the conversation that we had before.
Okay.
And that's okay, I mean, we're working it out. We want to be fair to you guys, and we don't think that you probably should be charged for every single, if you own 25 rent houses, we might be able to give you that floating deposit, but we don't know,
I don't want a floating deposit.
hey, I wish I'd known that before, that would save us a huge discussion. Is that your understanding, Michelle?
Yeah,
Okay, that's fantastic, then the
Because
problem's
now-
solved and we didn't have to wait.
if you come and say you want the water turned on, there's a $25
Yeah.
reconnect fee.
Yeah, I'll do that.
I have discussed
I've done that
in
twice in
this
30
council
years.
Before.
Twice in 30
Exactly
years
that.
because I
I
needed
can't hear
water.
both of you, I'm so sorry.
I did that twice in 30 years on my rentals because I needed water for that rental
Right.
to do a major clean or an overhaul or rebuild.
Sure.
And I come down and I put it up. My problem was when I started getting bills that I didn't ask for, the water being turned on.
And we agree with you about that. I don't
Okay.
know what happened. We discover things
I
every
mean,
day
it
and we're
happened,
looking
it
for that.
happened and it's taken care of.
Right.
But
And we agree with you completely. I
the
think
end
there might have been.
result on this ordinance is, I don't think anything needs to be done. I think we're working, because our city attorney's already said that I'm not responsible for the water that tenant leaves, that the bill leaves. He said that in the last meeting I was here. And so, I'm good.
Okay.
No
So-
deposit. If I want water, I'll come put a deposit down.
Okay. Hey, that's fantastic. That's easier than I thought. So,
Or-
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Right.
So,
I'm
So-
glad we could work this out.
you got me to 2 council meetings.
You got me to 3 staff meetings.
Okay, okay, so we're good.
We just
I'm
like-
good. Are you
Sammy,
good?
we just like seeing you.
Yeah,
I know you do, Bob.
it's been our pleasure.
Bob's the oldest guy in here, I think.
Probably. I know I've been here longer than anybody else.
Oh. All I know is the exact thing that was just stated, that when a renter leaves, they shut it off.
Physically.
Yes, and I don't put down a deposit unless I want that water back on as a landlord.
Right.
And then when I'm done with that water, I shut it off just like a tenant or anybody else that sells a house. And so, I'm not responsible. That is exactly how it's written in there, and that's exactly how it should stay, and we've discussed it that way a number of times. I don't recall, the very first time you and I discussed it, it was this floating thing where we were gonna charge everybody. That got ruled out the first time we discussed it. But then we said we'd go check with the other OML things. I guess you've come up here other times and talked to them, and it was something different, but
So,
I'm on the same page.
so we'll take no action. Right, we'll take no
Thank
action.
you.
So let me clarify.
We take no action. Go ahead.
You're good. You were actually good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
You want water, you come put your deposit
Put your
down. When
deposit
you're
down.
through at your rent house, you come and you tell them to turn it off, they'll turn it off.
In
Oh.
addition to that, there's gonna be a $25 connect fee.
I want y'all to know Paul Wickard is the whole cause of this whole problem right
Thank you
here.
very much.
You're welcome.
Can we send him the bill for this?
Can I
No,
ask,
he's not the reason.
Michelle, what's the connect fee for, does it say?
Turning water on, there's a $25
Okay,
connect fee.
so when I rent his house,
Yes.
I pay that as well. I pay a deposit and the $25, okay, that's fine.
And when you move out, you get your deposit back if you're in good standing.
You don't
If
get
he
your
comes
connect
in-
fee back though.
You don't get the
Yeah,
connect fee.
that is law, okay, got
You
it.
don't
Yeah.
come and tell them they're gonna track you down, you get a
That's
big,
chalk
you're gonna
talk.
get a big bill then.
Yeah, that's Choctaw.
So there's no action taken on that. Let's finish up, council member Bernadette, do you have anything you'd like to add tonight? Chris, do you have anything?
Good.
Steve?
No.
Marty, do you have anything? Levi? Yes, sir. Jerry? Man, that's a quiet meeting. Bob, you got anything?
I can't remember if I reported council that the city of Harrah has been dismissed from the lawsuit involving the lumber shop.
Yes.
Okay. That's all I have.
Ben, you have anything?
I do.
Okay.
All right, so at our, this is really for the council, at our next meeting on the 16th, I told you earlier, we were gonna get OMAG up here to do some strategic planning, visionary, and education for us. So they will be coming up here and spending some time with us. I think he thinks roughly about an hour. I wanted everybody to be able to plan for that. I know that lengthens the meeting, but we're already all here, and they'll be present to provide all of that, at the beginning of that strategic planning vision for us. So I'm really looking forward to that, hoping you guys are excited about it and want to participate. It'll be a good first step. Get presents. Absolutely.
You get to be
You
present.
get
Yeah,
to-
there's gonna be presents, door prizes.
Any other department heads have anything? I think we're good, we're adjourned. Good evening.